This is part 2 of what if Deku had a portal quirk. I'm going to get straight into it, so enjoy. Deku will be attending UA for the first time and finds out he made it in class 1A, the best class in the school. Now thinking about it, Deku looked back to when he thought he was quirkless, thinking about that makes him a little sad. He knows that he has to take advantage of the situation and make the most of it because it probably couldn't have happened at all. Deku walked into his class. For the first time, he got greeted by Ochako and Ida. Ochako would think Deku again, slightly blushing, and Ida would actually ask Deku about his quirk. Deku says he actually has two quirks. One of them he had seen in a practical exams that allowed him to zap from one place to another, the portal quirk. And the other he has, which he never shown. It is like an enhancement quirk, although he tells Ida that he actually never really uses it a lot to begin with, so he still is confused on the exact full extent of the quirk. He is intrigued by Deku. Bakugo in the corner would be staring at Deku menacingly, but wouldn't say a word. Class would begin and Aizawa would tell the class that they're going to do a quirk assessment test, and the person who fails this test will be out of class 1A. This puts everyone on edge. Now, for the quirk assessment test, Deku would go on to do good on all of them. He wasn't necessarily taking it 100% seriously, though. For the ball throwing contest, he decides to use one for all for the first time in class, combined with his portals. He will launch the ball using one for all, breaking his finger through a portal, which puts the ball already high up in the air. Deku, because of the combination of his quirks, would get the highest score on this exercise, with Bakugo being second. This will infuriate Bakugo. Deku, for the most part, will remain low-key about his power, showing off his power when needed, but not bragging or boasting about it. He would only talk to Uraraka, mainly, not really wanting to converse with other people. Now, it would be time to vote for class president. A lot of people would have elected Midoriya, but Midoriya simply doesn't want to be class president. It draws too much attention to him, he thinks. He instead will give this title to someone who actually wants to fulfill this role, being Ida. Ida would start to look at Deku differently after he does this. At first, Ida thought that he was just a lucky person to get two quirks. But then he realized there's more to Deku than just his quirks. Now it will be time for the hero versus villain training arc to begin. The teams will remain the same, with Deku and Ochako being the heroes and Bakugo and Ida being the villains. Bakugo would think to himself that this is now his chance to humiliate Deku and show him why he is still that boy who will bully in middle school. Bakugo this time will Bakugo this time would wait by the bomb with Ida, thinking Deku would make a portal going straight towards him. Bakugo waits, and waits. He is wondering, where is Deku? All of a sudden, Deku and Ochako appear by the bomb, touching it, completing the mission. Bakugo yells, how did he sneak past him? Deku would explain to Bakugo that he just made a portal, getting him outside of the building. And from there, he made a portal to get him back inside where the bomb was, while they were not looking. Basically, he basically, in simple terms, he went the back door. He went the other way. All of this would anger Bakugo. Why is Midoriya better than him? All of this will lead to the USJ arc, which will more or less play out the same. Nothing overly special happens in this arc. I'm not going to really waste my time and get into it. Now, we will go into the UA sports festival, which will go different. Deku would be the one to give the speech since he got the most points in the UA entrance exams, and Deku would say that he'll just win the tournament simply, with no remorse. He basically did the same thing Bakugo did in Ken, which surprises everyone for Deku's laid-back attitude. How could he say such a thing? For the race portion of the festival, Deku would still win, although it would be way easier this time around, since he would basically just use his portals to get around all of the traps placed. Next would be the cavalry battle. Deku would end up with the same person he had in Canon, but this time he is able to, he's basically able to, how could I say this? He keeps his headband. He keeps the most points at all times. And this is because Deku really controls the position of everyone. and his position as well. So basically, using his portals, he can control where he wants everyone to be and where he wants himself to be. If Bakugo came charging at him, he could just put a portal in front of him and make him charge at someone else. Same for Todoroki. He can also like deflect their attacks using his portals, sending their attacks back at them. And if he wanted his team to stay in the air, he could just use the portals. So overall, Deku remains with the highest points the whole time, avoiding Bakugo and Todoroki mainly, which wasn't as easy as it sounds. Now into the tournament. Everything is the same until the fight with Todoroki. This fight will play out different. This time Deku doesn't care if Shoto wants to use his fire quirk or not. If he doesn't appreciate it, then Deku will just run through him like every other opponent. First off, Deku would use his portals to dodge Todoroki's attacks, and then use them to connect punches on Todoroki from a long distance. He doesn't want to risk getting close to him. He eventually is pressuring Shoto so much that out of frustration he uses his fire quirk, but Deku doesn't let this stop him. Shoto will send a blast of fire towards Deku, and Deku will use a portal to send it right back at him. Shoto will try as he may, but he isn't touching Deku. Deku eventually will decide to end the fight. He will use a portal teleporting right underneath Todoroki and uppercutting his chin with a little bit of one for all being any punch, which was about 8%. This would hurt Deku a little bit, but it wouldn't break any of his bones. This uppercut to the chin would knock Shoto out. Although, in the stands, Endeavor is thinking to himself. He thanks Deku internally for making his son use his fire quirk. This is the next step for Shoto to be his successor and become the #1 hero. The last fight will end up being Bakugo versus Deku. Bakugo tells Deku that he is dead. The fight will start off by Deku using his portals to retreat and avoid Bakugo's attacks. However, he would also be using his portals to land punches from far away. Bakugo eventually tries to blitz Deku, but this doesn't even work. Bakugo goes right through one of Deku's portals and goes out another portal, face first into the ground, which frustrates him a lot. At this point, Deku is toying with Bakugo. He isn't really trying. He's just using his portals in a smart way to basically F over Bakugo. Bakugo gets more and more frustrated, and Deku sees that, so he decides it's time to put this fight to an end. He'll use one for all in his legs to portal blitz Bakugo, landing a solid punch to his stomach, making him unable to continue. Deku would basically win the sports festival, like he said. This would make All Might proud, but not his cockiness. The only reason Deku is really so cocky is because he never had all of this before, and now that he's getting it, he's gonna go all the way. He's giving it 100%. So this is the end of part 2. Part 3 will be coming soon, and I do plan on continuing this. What if maybe I don't know how many parts it will have because I haven't really watched all of My Hero Academia, and I don't plan on doing that soon. So I might it'll have a set amount of videos. Matter of fact, all of the MHA what ifs I have will end at the same point. And then when I catch up on the series, I'll be continuing them. So without further more to say, goodbye.